It's a pleasure to be here, and always great to be with the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce. I will tell you that my years as mayor and my years prior to my service as mayor of this great city, there are very few significant things that have happened in this community without the leadership of the Chamber of Commerce, and which obviously doesn't just speak to the executives here, but to each and every one of you, the members that make things happen here. So glad to be here to talk about the exciting things happening all across this region. The cool thing about sitting with these guys here, and including Jeff, who's newest in his position, is that this isn't the only time we get together. And I think recognizing that we are the heart of a great region, that these man-made lines that we put up to divide ourselves are just that, and that we recognize that Columbia's role is the center of a great region with a whole lot of great moving parts, and that when we work together well, we can make some awesome things happen for people throughout this metropolitan area. We recognize that our job is to develop the urban core, develop a vibrant, strong, healthy, exciting, fun urban core that serves as an attraction for capital investment and for people to want to come live, work, play, worship in the city of Columbia and in this great region. You can walk out of the decidedly urban coffee shop on Main Street, and in 5 minutes you can be in some great neighborhoods, and in 15 minutes you can be fishing for the finest bass in the entire country, if not the world, in Lake Murray, hunting for boar in Lower Richland, or playing golf with Mayor Ross in Blythewood, because I guarantee you he's playing golf right now as we speak. But our job is to develop this urban core, and we've decided that that the things that we're doing are working. We're investing in our infrastructure. Over 10 years, we'll have over $1.05 billion invested in growing and redeveloping our water sewer infrastructure. We're working closely with the business community to continue to promote an environment, recognizing that this 40% drop we've seen in unemployment over the last few years is wonderful, but we recognize that the government doesn't create jobs. We create an environment that attracts capital investment and encourages you all to create jobs. We've gotten creative. How do you monetize and commercialize the growth of the only Carnegie Research One university in this state? And now we've seen almost a $500 million in high-end student housing coming to the urban core. 3,000 new people will be living just down a few blocks away from here over the next few years. Great construction jobs that we're seeing from that type of development. Another $100 million coming over to the Klein property just 2 blocks away. Probably the finest Class A, maybe 2A baseball stadium, multi-purpose venue under construction on Bull Street, the finest in the entire country by the time we're done, serving as the core catalyst of some incredible development that we'll hear a lot more about on Bull Street before the end of this calendar year. But amazing things happen because we're investing properly in not just infrastructure, but in the arts and in the cultural environment that we all enjoy, recognizing that 100 years ago, people would move to Dayton because they built a new rubber plant. And now every corporate prospect that I talk to wants to know about your people. Now businesses are following talent. Do you have the talent to meet my company's needs over the next 10, 20, 30 years? So you have to become a talent magnet. You have to have wonderful institutions like the Art Museum, the crown jewel of our arts infrastructures. You have to have the NIC, you have to have the Soda City market. You have to have all these things that make Columbia fun and special and attractive to people at every age, every stage of their development. Lots of great things happening. We're continuing to invest heavily in a clean and safe environment, watching our police force lead the nation in some incredibly dramatic ways that we'll talk more about, hopefully in our question and answer session, recognizing I believe that a good, safe city is obviously a prerequisite to having a great city. And I'm also proud, sometime over the next 2 weeks, we'll talk about, we believe that We believe that our citizens give us the latitude to be creative in how we grow the city once you first demonstrate that you have the fiscal capacity to do just that. We'll announce the fifth of the last 6 years of the budget surplus this year, just about $2.8 million in the black this year. A second year in a row, we've received the Award of Excellence from the Government Finance Officers Association for sound fiscal reporting. We've eliminated the water sewer transfer, made a dedicated public safety transfer 2% this year, and we'll watch that go down again dramatically this year on the way down to zero. Lots of good things happening, and proud to be a part of it in this city's history. Thank you. I also think one of our greatest strengths also is something we can improve upon greatly. I remember chasing one fairly large concern, trying to get some manufacturing operations here in the state, and in the room we had Senator Graham, we had the governor, myself, we had the president of the University of South Carolina. We have a real competitive advantage that sometimes assembling all the people who need to be in the room to make a decision, we can do it, and we do it well here in South Carolina, all across this state, including here in the Midlands. I think we need to continue doing that and working very aggressively to knock down even more barriers, making sure that a regional approach to solving some of our collective challenges, looking at a regional approach to stormwater management, of course, in the wake of the first week of October. How do we make sure that Richland County and Lexington County, along with Casey, Arcadia Lakes, Forest Acres, and the City of Columbia, and the federal government with Fort Jackson, all of us affected by the Gills Creek watershed, how do we work together in solving, or at least working our way to address some of these regional stormwater issues? I think we need to take our level of involvement and aggressive approach to solving problems and even farther. I think continue. We've made some real progress over the last several years, but we can do a whole lot more. You were looking at me, Charlie, so I'm not sure if that question is for me or not. I will say, to piggyback on Jeff's comments as well, those numbers are real. Our numbers show there's still maybe 9,300 jobs still waiting to be filled here in the Midlands. So I think the more thoughtful and creative we get about trying to take people who are unemployed and underemployed, many of whom are in service level jobs, and give them the skill set to move up utilizing our tech school system is really a real opportunity here in the Midlands as well. Things are still moving along and moving along aggressively as it relates to flood recovery. It has presented us with some real opportunities, and I think a real chance utilizing the crisis to start to see some regional cooperation on some issues that really were back burner issues for most people, like stormwater management. Nothing that's smart or sexy or anything that requires your immediate attention until you have an event like we had. I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm significantly concerned about the approach that our federal representatives, and I've communicated my concerns to the governor as well, in making sure that the people of South Carolina fully receive the benefits post-disaster that we should receive from the federal government. And I think there's still some opportunity to work to maximize that. Some of you may have seen there was a appropriation that seems to be final in the Community Development Block Grant recovery dollars over this past weekend, finalized Tuesday night about 3 a.m., about $300 million that South Carolina will split with the state of Texas. And the good thing about block grant dollars is you can use it for a number of different functions, including helping businesses get back up and running. There's a number of different things. Our estimations hope that my request was that we would receive close to $1 billion, but the governor expressed a desire for somewhere around $140 million, which I didn't think was adequate to meet the needs of our businesses. I've shared that concern. We'll have a number of opportunities over the next year to try and maximize the return. I believe that even people who don't care much for the federal government realized that South Carolinians have paid their taxes for years to help with issues like Hurricane Katrina, Superstorm Sandy, Ike, and everywhere else. And now it's time for our citizens and our businesses to benefit from that system of reciprocity that FEMA and other agencies have been set up to meet. I hope and pray that this era of political austerity doesn't significantly impact our citizens in a negative way. That's my greatest concern. We're still moving right along. I've met with developers over the past week for projects totaling just under $220 million. Things are still moving along very aggressively, but they certainly can be slowed down if, in fact, we don't get the type of support we need that Jim Clyburn and others are fighting for in D.C. Well, I'll tell you, lots of activity on North Main Street. Lots of exciting things happening on North Main Street. They presented to us the first steps of a branding campaign for North Columbia just at this last council meeting. And not a week goes by that I don't meet with someone who's looking at a building or several buildings to try and make something happen north of Elmwood. I'm very confident that based on some of the things we're seeing happening generally around Sunset right there, some of you may know where the Burger King is right there, we're going to see a really good bookend between Sunset and Elmwood. After years of cobbling together a number of different resources to try and achieve a major streetscaping of North Main Street from Elmwood all the way to I-20 between Tiger Grant, the transportation penny, and cobbling together those resources, that's now fully funded. So the city's in the process of right-of-way acquisition to make that happen. It's going to be pretty incredible. We want to make sure we have a corridor that reflects the vitality of the neighborhoods behind the corridor, and there's some really cool things happening there. We've recently invested in a new parking lot, bought a small parking lot on North Main because the challenges with some of those lots is the lots aren't deep enough to accommodate significant amounts of developments without, of course, impressing upon the buffers that keep the neighborhoods residential. So we decided we'd invest in some joint parking there, and I think we executed that transaction a month or so ago. Lots of happening in North Main. Dutch Square Mall is a whole different deal. We had a fantastic charity giveaway to folks affected by the flood this past week, and my children who are 10 and 8 joined me there, and they walked into the mall and they said, "What is this place? We've been here," and that told me a lot about all of our malls, and I think that's probably maybe a reflection of migratory patterns. People are returning to urban cores or going to even more suburban locations. That there's some macro issues that we have to address there. Richland County did a really good job this past year. They brought in some folks who actually are focused on that very specific issue. How do you deal with those first and second tier suburbs that now are stuck between a vibrant urban core and still very thriving suburbs? And there's some work that has to be done there. We're doing some pretty cool things on Beltline Boulevard. We're moving our utilities and engineering headquarters to Beltline, taking an old car dealership, an old Newsom Chevrolet, and investing $15 million in a new silver lead building, green roof, pervious pavement, 300-person community room there, and of course adding 800 people to that corridor to shop and do business there. I think there are ways in which we can get pretty creative to help our 1970s suburbs come back. And my parents live about 3 minutes from the mall as well, so they ask me that question regularly too, Carlos.
So we've got time for one more question. Anybody?
Sure, thank you, Will. Yeah, thank you. No, I think I also believe communities that have leveraged and properly and positively exploited waterways have won big. And obviously many of us have invested a lot of time and energy in trying to make Innovista, the Innovation District, right next to the Waterfront District, a reality. And I will tell you, as you well know, there are lots of really cool moving parts going on right now. We do have the benefit of having one family control all this land, and the constant conversations we've had with Charlie Thompson on behalf of the Ginyard family are positive, moving right along. Obviously, there's some challenges we're facing right now. I see John Cadena there. He doesn't like being singled out, but I cannot say enough about the way that SCE&G has responded to the coal tar abatement from 100 plus years ago in the river, and the job that they've done there, and helping us to determine whether or not there are Civil War artifacts down there from Sherman's burning of Columbia 150 years ago. But that type of stewardship that will also help us bury power lines up and down this street. Of course, we know what the Girl Scouts have planned for their urban camping right here across the street. But those two crucial elements of the transportation penny that we spent years trying to fund through various sources, the Water Resources Development Act, but that will connect Williams Street north-south and Green Street over the railroad trestle, bringing the university directly into the Ginyard track, are still the two most important pieces of the puzzle in making something happen down here. We'll take land that some would debate has any utility other than a very scenic sylvan environment, and turn it into very valuable land that we'll start seeing some of the development once it happen. I also predict that we'll see another silver lining in the dark cloud that was a flood that affected the Columbia Canal. We're going to see I think, an opportunity to see some enhanced and improved development there that not only lends itself to commercial development, but also to some more pedestrian and biking uses as well.
Jeff.